Welcome everybody to the team call. It is the middle of November, so we've got half of the month left. I think the biggest thing coming up, well, there's a couple big things coming up for us as a team together. Besides that, we're all in this team spirit thing where you're supposed to be using team spirit hashtags. Brooke's been updating us a little bit on that. But also, we have two groups that we're doing kind of together. A lot of people are involved in it that are ending on this weekend or on Monday. One is the Biggest Loser group. That ends final weigh-in on Monday. And then the other one is the Fall Power of the Pack group, the $1,000 Fall Power of the Pack group, which ends on – pictures have to be in on Monday as well. So if you've got people in either of those groups, you need to be making sure that they're aware of the picture thing. I'll be putting a video in there and reminding everybody. I reminded everybody like a week ago as well that pictures are coming up, but I'm going to do it again. But, you know, get with your people, your actual people, and talk to them about, you know, hey, it's almost time to take pictures and all that kind of stuff. I put out a format for that. Please remember that. They need to, again, I'll remind them in the group, but they need to send it in a certain format so that it all looks the same on the site so that it's easy for people to vote and see the same thing from each person. And then we are starting our Fight Back group on Monday as well. So we start the new Core to Force group on Monday. So Brooke put a post in Team Rhino, Brooke Brown did, about, you know, what she wants from the coaches in there. Brooke and I talked about that. I know one of the issues we have when we do groups together is that coaches aren't really sure how much coachiness they need to do in the group. You know, how many coach posts and tips and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I think that the Fall Power, well, all the Power of the Pack groups have kind of shown that the people don't even really need a lot of those tip type things or long posts or anything. People are doing really well in those groups with just posting their sweaty selfies and having the coaches kind of go along with them doing the same thing. So that's kind of what I recommend is, hey, you know, if you got a tip, if you got something that's helping you that you want to put out to the whole group in that group, do it, you know, go for it. But don't feel like because you're a coach in the group that you need to, you know, every post has to be some kind of profound coachy thing. You know, just post your workout. This is what I did. You know, post what you ate. You know, just be there, be in it, right? So I think that's part of what Brooke said in her post in the group. So we're ending those two groups. We're starting a new group. I don't think we have anything else planned on the books until January, when we're planning on doing a big Power of the Pack group. Kind of try to, you know, really do a big one in January, and maybe a big fall or a Biggest Loser, maybe. I don't know, we haven't talked about that, but we need to start prepping for that. And if there's anything anybody wants to do in December, that as a team, you know, put those ideas out there. Other than that, I think that's pretty much all the news. And so what I wanted to talk about tonight, I'm not going to take a ton of time on this subject, but I want to talk about customer newsletter. It doesn't even have to be necessarily customer. It could be prospect on there too. But one of the things, we've been kind of going down this line of, you know, how to build a website and how to use a website to drive traffic to your content and to drive leads and to drive sales. We had Cindy on last week. If you haven't listened to Cindy's call from last week, it's a great call about how she uses her website, what kind of content she puts on there, how she pushes everyone to the website. They ask a question. If she doesn't have something on her website that answers it, she then makes something for her website that answers it and puts it on the website. Now she has a blog post that has that answer on there. So, you know, somebody may ask, what is 21 Day Fix all about? And she sends them to the website and says, you know, she doesn't just like they say, what's 21 Day Fix about? And she goes, link, you know, like she has a little conversation with them, right? And says, oh, well, it's this, and I love it for this and this. And I've got this, you know, page that can tell you more about it at some point in the conversation, sends them there. And then everything on that page also has buttons and things and links where they can buy right now, and it takes them right to the store, to her website, right? So she's not sending people to the Beachbody website to learn about it, she's only sending them there after they've learned about it on her website and then have decided to buy, and then it goes to the Beachbody website. So I know that's one thing that I could definitely get better at, because I have websites, several websites, where I could actually put information like that. But a lot of times I find myself going, oh, well, you want to look at what comes with the PIO challenge pack. Well, okay, let me find where that is in the store. Okay, let me send you this link, and then send them to the Beachbody website. She doesn't do that. She puts the information in a way that she wants it, right? So once you've got a website, I kind of got off track there. Once you have a website and then you're using it to put all the information on, one of the other things that you can do that's cool with a website is you can allow people to opt into an email newsletter right there on your website, which is great. So people don't have to buy to continue to hear from you. So if they're going to your website and they find some great information that you've put on there about when to work out, or some great information about triathlon training, or some great information about whatever it is on your website, they find this information and they're like, wow, okay, I really like the way this guy writes, or I like the way this gal writes. I want to stay in touch with them. You can have a little box like on the side. You can even have a pop-up that comes up. I know a lot of us are rather annoyed at those when they pop up and say, stay in touch with us, but they're actually rather effective. People actually sign up for those things. So you can have it on the side, you can have a pop-up. There's all different ways you can do it in a website, and it depends on what email service you're using to send your newsletter, and then also what plugin you're using within WordPress to display some sort of an opt-in sign-up thing, okay? So you kind of have to know where you're going to send the email newsletter from before you can decide how you're going to integrate it into your website, because each one of the different types of newsletter people and tools have different ways to integrate them and different tools to integrate them. Some have lots of versatility. Some of those cost more. Some of them have one way that you can integrate them, and that's it. Some of them are super plug and play. Some of them you have to copy HTML into your website, which is also not that terribly hard, but it's not like button clicking. It's copying and pasting code, things like that. Okay, so you have to figure out, where am I going to send this newsletter from? Okay, you're most likely not going to want to send a newsletter that you're sending every week to lots of customers, people who are opting in a manual way from Gmail or something like that, where you put them all in the BCC thing. We're talking about people signing up for a list. They're in a list in a system, and you make a newsletter and say, I want to send to this list, and it goes to that whole list. Okay, so there's different programs that you can use for that. Cindy uses MailChimp. Okay, so MailChimp is just like it sounds. Their logo is like a monkey. It's MailChimp. Okay. That one is fine. I've never actually personally used MailChimp. It's very similar to Aweber, A-W-E-B-E-R, which is the one that I've used extensively. I actually just switched from Aweber to a different system because I'm using it for 90-10 nutrition now, and I kind of integrated the two. But Aweber is an excellent system. I recommend Aweber. I think it's a good system. It's fairly easy to use, and it has lots of integration abilities with your website. Okay. Some other ones that are out there include Constant Contact would be another one. And then some more expensive, crazy ones are things like Infusionsoft. You've probably seen Infusionsoft, like when you've clicked on a link for some major company or something like that. Infusionsoft is like in the URL or something like that, or you've heard of it before. That's more like a $500 a month type of program, not a $20 a month type of email program. Okay, so there's lots of different options that you can go. I recommend you go down the line of Constant Contact, MailChimp, or Aweber, unless you are using something like Teamzy or ACEO, in which case I believe there is newsletter sending, mass email sending capabilities within Teamzy and ACEO. David, maybe you can talk to that. Does Teamzy have email capabilities? You can email a whole list of people?
I haven't tapped into that yet.
Okay. I believe they do. What I don't know about those systems, because I haven't used them for that. I did use ACEO back a little while ago, but I haven't in a while. I've never used Teamzy, And what I don't know is if you can put a form on your website where people can sign up for your list, or if you have to like, it's only people that you import like from Beachbody. I don't know the answer to that. But I do believe they have mass emailing capabilities where you can email your entire list of people all at once, which is what you would do with a newsletter. I just don't know if you can integrate it with a website where you could actually have a random person who comes to your website who likes your stuff, like opt in to a particular list within Teamzy. Okay. So once you have, I'm not going to go into all the different, like, I'm not going to open up Aweber or something like that and show you how to use Aweber, because you could choose MailChimp and you could choose Constant Contact, or you could be using Teamzy already, or you could be using ACEO or whatever it is. And you're going to have to use YouTube or Google, or you can message me, especially if it's about Aweber, because I've used it extensively and we can figure out how to help you get that going. But I'm not going to try to like go through one of them. So the point is that in some way on your website, you have a place where people can opt in and get on your list so that you can email them. Okay, that's usually through some type of plugin or code that comes from or goes along with the newsletter sending tool that you're using, which is Aweber, MailChimp, Constant Contact, ACEO, Teamzy, whatever, like that. Okay, so you have to figure that out first. Once you have that figured out, then you have to decide, what am I going to send out to these people, and how often am I going to send stuff out to them? Because obviously if you just send them a bunch of sales stuff every 2 days, they're going to hit the unsubscribe list and they won't be on your list anymore, right? Which is still going to happen. That's it. That's probably my biggest caution about sending out a newsletter, is if you're not prepared for unsubscribes and you go in after you send that first newsletter and you see 14 people unsubscribe from your list, you're going to be like, why did they unsubscribe from my list when they don't love me? Like, people are going to unsubscribe from your list. It happens all the time. I've been running a newsletter, kind of on and off, mostly on, with 90/10 Nutrition for 2 years plus that we've actually been sending something out. And the total number of people that have unsubscribed is over 1,000 people. Now, the total number of people that are still on it is several thousand people, but the total number of people that have unsubscribed is like 1,000 people have eventually unsubscribed because they just don't want that information anymore, whatever, And that brings me to, how often are you going to send it out? Really, what we need to talk about, because people's inboxes are absolutely overrun these days with email. That doesn't make it an ineffective way to communicate. It just means that you have to be more careful. I remember Gary Vaynerchuk in his book, his latest one, the Ask Gary V, he mentioned that in the late 90s, when he was doing email marketing, when very few people were, a typical read rate on an email that he would send out was 92%. 92% of the people that he sent the email to would read the email. Today, if you're above 25%, that's an awesome read rate on an email. 25, 30, 35, you start getting into the 40s and people are like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Okay, so it's a different game now because everybody's doing email marketing. And I probably don't have to tell you this because your inbox is full of everything you've ever bought, you get on a newsletter, right? I mean, you're on the whatever you've ever bought, you're on that newsletter. And some things, you don't even know how you got on the newsletter. And you're like, what the heck? Why am I getting this from this person? I've never bought anything from this person or done anything. And all of a sudden you're on a newsletter. So that means that the competition in the inbox is very high, which means you have to put valuable stuff in there. You have to put eye-catching subject lines. You can't just send buy a quarter force from me to your list. Okay. So the way that I do my personal newsletter for my customers, my coach to customer newsletter, what I've done in the past that seems to have gotten the best response is I organize my newsletter with, first of all, how my training is going. So it's all personal, has zero sales stuff in it whatsoever. So if I'm training for an Ironman, training for a half Ironman, if I'm doing Body Beast, if I'm, whatever program I'm doing, Ultimate Reset, nutrition, all of it, what's going on with me in the health and fitness world right now. And sometimes family and, things. I'll mix in what I'm doing with my kids, all that kind of stuff. A little blurb about what's going on with me right now. Like I remember being down in Colorado Springs one time, and I did the incline in Colorado Springs. I don't know if you know what the incline is. It's like it's like almost like railroad ties up this super, super steep incline, basically. And people like have records of how fast you make it up. And you look at it and you go, oh, well, it's just like stairs, and I'll just go upstairs. And it's like at well over a mile high. And so you get about like 17 stairs into it, and you're like, I can't breathe. It's like super hard to get up it. So I took some pictures at the top, and I put that out in my newsletter that I was in Colorado Springs and I did this thing, right? And then the next thing in my newsletter that I would put out is some type of helpful thing, again, zero sales, how much water to drink, those kind of typical things, or something way different that I would find on the internet somewhere, maybe link to something or write up something about motivation. It was just like a helpful tip, helpful thing, right? And then the next thing would be all the upcoming opportunities that I have for challenge groups with Beachbody. So it would go from zero sales to more salesy as the newsletter would go. Okay. So they're getting to know me a little bit. They're getting a little bit of a helpful tip. Then they're getting opportunities for them. And then the last thing was usually what's on sale with Beachbody right now. So that's how I started organizing my newsletter when I first started it. The only thing that I would change is that if something big was happening, I might send out a special newsletter that was only about one particular thing. Like if a new program was coming out, I might send a more salesy only newsletter just to highlight the new thing coming out. But mostly it was that format. Okay, so that's just my format. There's tons of different ways you could do a newsletter. I guess the big thing to take away from that is you just can't send sales stuff to their email constantly. You have to connect with them. You have to give them value. It's the whole jab, 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 right hook thing in the email instead of in social media. You have to be jabbing all the time. You've got to give them value. Okay, this is your way to stay connected to your customers other than the marketing emails. Remember, there's marketing emails going to your customers already from Beachbody, right? They're getting stuff about the new Core de Force from Beachbody sometimes, okay? So they're already getting a lot of that stuff. You need to be the one that provides value, okay? Next thing, besides providing value, is always, always, always in your newsletter, offer opportunities for engagement, okay? And the best way to do that is tell people to reply with the answer to a question, or tell people to reply with their story on so-and-so, and put reply to this email in all caps and change it to red. Like, so it's reply, and people reply more often if you do that. Okay. So if you just put out, here's what's happening with me, here's a helpful tip, here's some challenge groups, here's the sales from Beachbody, but you never ask them to reply with some type of engagement, you'll get less engagement than if you ask them to do that. So don't have 7 different places where they have to reply with 7 different things, but pick something in your newsletter and ask them to engage with you. You'll still get a very low number of people that actually reply compared to how many you'll probably send it to, but you will get more engagement that way if you ask them to reply. Okay. How often do you send? Every week, every month? Cindy is sending monthly and she's doing well. So you do not have to send every week. I was sending every week. I'm changing to every month just because it's really hard, first of all, to put together super helpful content every single week that is worth actually opening, where I don't feel like I've got to put something together. So I throw some crap in a newsletter and send it out to people. That's not actual value, right? That's like, oh, I have to send something, so let me search the internet for how much water should you drink every day and link it in there or something. That's not, like, she looks for one good quality article that she can write every month, and that's the main focus of her newsletter, is that article. That's super simple. Like, anybody can do that, right? Like, over the month, you're thinking about things, you're looking at things, you see something that really hits you, you're like, I need to write an article on that. I need to write a blog on that. Write up a good blog on that subject. When it's time to send your newsletter out for that month, that's one of the highlights of your newsletter is your article on so-and-so. You put in there a little blurb about what the article's about, link to the article that's on your website, and they go to your website and read the article, right? That's kind of like that helpful tip portion of the newsletter. So you need to have a way to integrate it into your website so people can opt in. You need to decide how often you're going to send it, and you need to come up with a format for sending it. You can put all of your current customers on the newsletter, and then people that opt in from your website can go onto the newsletter. And then any new customers that come in, like what I do is every week on Thursdays, I go into all 3 of my Coach Online offices, download any new customers that have come in, put them into my newsletter program. That's a manual process because you're taking people from Beachbody into your newsletter. They're not opting in on your website, and there's not really much you can do about that. But once a week, I go grab the customers out of Beachbody, stick them on the newsletter email list. I also, one other tip that I have for this is I also put now a big block at the top. And I put it at the top now. I used to put it at the bottom. I put it at the top, and I say, the reason you're getting this email is because, and I explain why they're getting the email. Okay. You either opted in on my website for my monthly newsletter, or you were a Beachbody customer that was assigned to me as your coach. It lets them know, if you do not want to get these kind of emails from me, here is an unsubscribe link. And I give it to them right at the top. Most people have unsubscribe link all the way at the bottom. I give it to them right at the top. And what I found is that you get less. One thing that happens with emails is when people unsubscribe, if they don't remember signing up for it, they are very happy to push the button in Aweber or whatever that says, I didn't ask for email from this person. That becomes an abuse report to Aweber or to whatever your system is. And once you get over a certain amount of abuses where people have said, this person's sending me email I didn't ask for, then Aweber is like, hey, we don't really want you on our system because you're spamming people, which it's a pretty high number, I think, and it doesn't happen that often. But I found that the complaints go down if you put that at the top and you're like, this is why you're getting this. And if you don't want it anymore, bye-bye. Just hit the unsubscribe. So that's kind of all the topics I wanted to really go over is just the basic ideas of a newsletter, and then let you guys ask questions if you have questions about how to send a newsletter, what to send. You can ask technical questions too if you've got a website going that you need to know how to integrate a particular thing or best practices or anything like that if anybody has live questions. I know Heidi's getting a website set up. How's it going?
It's stymied right now.
You got the hosting set up though, right? Like you have the URL, you have the hosting.
Yes.
Ready to go. WordPress installed yet?
No.
Okay. That's the next step, right?
Yes.
Install WordPress.
Yes.
Then you got to pick a theme and all that stuff.
But it's
Question,
fun.
David?
Yeah. What hosting service did you go with?
I went with, what is it? Bluehost.
Bluehost.
And I got tons of spam email from them. Now I have about 5 people a day who want to sell me a logo design service or a website service.
Probably one of the ways that they do it so cheap is that they've got all the advertisers. Yeah.
It makes me so angry. And the same thing happened with when I did, what was it called? The Yellow Pages people. Yeah.
Yeah, they sell your information. It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. I still get calls from people who got my information from Haibu. And I get mail and everything else. But it's okay when I get calls because I just go, how's your health and fitness journey going?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you might have to unsubscribe from a lot of stuff if you do the cheaper hosting. That is a good point. I didn't think about that because I haven't done a new hosting service for a long time. But that if you go for one of these like $3.99 a month things or $5.99 a month, that may happen. You'll get spam, but you know how to delete emails too. So,
Hey, free leads, man.
yeah, right. Any other questions on newsletters, websites, any of that kind of stuff?
I did have another question about January, and that is, what about the challenge tracker app?
Oh, like doing the power of the pack in the challenge tracker app?
Well, that, and there's going to be a new
A health bet.
health bet coming up, so we need to factor that in.
Yes. How do you guys feel? How did everybody that's on here? How did you feel about the health bet? Like, did it drive people to actually? I mean, because a lot of our people that were in the health bet were also in the power of the pack already. I don't know that I had a whole lot of. I had a few new people join for the purpose of the health bet. How did you guys feel about that?
I had really good success with it.
Did you?
As far as getting people to either come back to Shakeology or pull the trigger on Shakeology. I had one person who was already on Shakeology decide to become a coach, like a discount coach, so they could stay on it.
Okay.
So, you know, I mean, for me, I liked it. I didn't expect a huge payout. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't disappointed. I don't know if anybody else was like disappointed about their $16 or whatever it was, but I don't know how you can be disappointed unless someone has, like, I never told them, hey, you could get your money back. You know, I never said that. And so hopefully they weren't expecting that, but it's money that you didn't have before. So
right.
How was that happening?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. I was just trying to get feelings on it because I know some people are saying they're not going to do it this time, and just because they didn't think it was worth it. If you're running a group already, you know, though, like we're running a power of the pack group, why would you not add the health bet into that? You know, like
it helped me with my accountability to make sure I was, you know, being looked at and people were watching me. So it helped me with my accountability, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, I think it's a great tool. Plus, there's so many people that, oh no, I don't do Facebook. So it's another opportunity to get them in a group.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, we should factor it in then. Let's get that figured out.
Okay.
I'll be all right with that. Are you taking lead on that? Is that what you're saying, David? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. Any other questions?
I plan on getting my website up. I'm in the process of switching hosting companies. That's why I'm asking. My computer took a digger or crapped out 2 weeks ago. I should be picking it up in the next 2 days. So I plan on getting deep into my website this weekend.
Sweet. Would you, as you're going through that, let me know if you look into the Teamsy thing, if they have opt-in forms that you can put on a website, like if that's integrated somehow.
I will. I can message them right now and, you know, get an answer on that.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if that's part of that deal, because I think ACEO does have that, and I would imagine Teamsy does, so that you can have people, you know, opt into something, you know, like a lead generator type of thing that you could have people opt into a list. But I'd be interested to know for sure, so that I have that knowledge. I like knowledge. All right, we'll see you guys later then.